Saw some interesting work the other day that may challenge a little bit of everything that people have always thought about arthritis, and it was out of Stanford. And for years, people with arthritis have just been told the same things: your cartilage is wearing out, your joint is bone on bone. Once it's all gone, it's gone. And there is some truth mixed in there. But this study out of Stanford is starting to challenge a little bit the way that we need to think about arthritis and cartilage. Um, but what they were doing is working with mice, and they were also working with cartilage samples from knees that were being replaced in people. So none of this, they've gotten the green light to start working on some phase 1 trials, but so far none of this stuff has been done in actual humans, but it's interesting either way. Um, and they didn't do any of this cartilage work with stem cells. They didn't do any of it with surgery. They were finding ways to change the cell signaling inside of the cartilage. And the old story about your joints is cartilage wears out, and as you age, it starts to get thinner. Then the joint degenerates, and eventually there's nothing to do about it. And that has been the narrative around joints for decades. But the Stanford study, they were looking at this enzyme called 15-PGDH. And as we age, our bodies start to increase the levels of that enzyme. And as that enzyme starts to go up, the ability for cartilage to undergo self-repair starts to come down. So the researchers were sitting back, and the simple question, of course, is, well, what happens if we block this 15-PGDH? They had some pretty shocking answers. The cartilage samples where they blocked that 15-PGDH started to regenerate. There wasn't just less pain, there wasn't just less symptom masking. The cartilage actually structurally began regenerating in these animal models they were working with. And the scientists were thinking, well, it's probably just some sort of stem cell proliferation that's responsible for this, but that's not what they found out was happening. What they were seeing was the existing cartilage cells started to act like younger cartilage cells, and they started to produce healthy cartilage again. So think about that. The cells are there, they just needed to have different set of signaling to revert to creating healthy cartilage. So interesting, but let's not all lose our minds here. Let's slow everything down, and the caveats, and these are very clear in the paper that they put out. The primary things used in the study were mice. So it's important to think about, a lot of things will work in mice that don't end up working in people. We see that all the time. And arthritis isn't going to be getting cured next year. And we're not going to start regrowing all knees on earth tomorrow. So the paper doesn't oversell this. I'm not trying to oversell this, but just talking about something that's interesting, because forever people have been told cartilage can't regenerate. So and why this is still a big deal that they found this kind of stuff is, for decades everyone just acts like cartilage is just dead tissue. It's like some sort of brake pad between your joints, and when it wears out, that's it. It's done, it's finished. But this study starts to suggest that there may be something different that can happen, and that cartilage is far more biologically active and adaptable than people ever thought it was. But the mistake that this is going to create, especially if it gets around on social media, is people are going to hear about this study, and they're going to think, great, I'll just sit back and wait for this miracle cure to come along for my joints. And that's not good. The best evidence that we still have that supports continuing to have healthy joints, even as cartilage starts to wear down, is to strength train, to exercise, to move, to keep your weight at reasonable levels, to get plenty of sleep, to improve your general health, build your work capacities. Those things work now. But there is a bigger message here, and this study doesn't prove that we're solving arthritis, but it does prove that there's a more complicated part to the story than that you're just wearing out. And that's actually a good thing, because people have spent decades just saying that your joints are doomed, and science is increasingly suggesting that may not be the case. So this final message is, the cartilage isn't just some brake pad that wears out. Your body isn't a machine that's just slowly wearing down. It's a living and adaptable system. And living systems can continue to adapt as long as the right things are happening. So we're still learning how to understand all of this. And this is just a new little wrinkle, a new piece in the puzzle. Because yes, a lot of it was mice models, but they were getting some of that cartilage regeneration in these samples they were taking from people's knees while they were giving them a knee replacement. So this future of arthritis treatments might not be based in protecting cartilage. These future treatments may revolve around how to teach the cartilage in your body to act like young cartilage cells again.